Now, China has successfully launched its youngest ever astronauts, or taikonauts, into space, where they'll spend the next 6 months on a station called Heavenly Palace.
As the cosmos transforms into the next geopolitical battleground, the silent race between two superpowers, China and the United States, casts a shadow of uncertainty. Will technological prowess or strategic alliances tip the balance? The stakes stretch beyond the moon's icy craters and into the heart of humanity's future in space. Behind ambitious missions and lunar bases lies a deeper question: who will shape the narrative of space exploration, and at what cost? As rivalries heat up, the moon's shadowed landscapes might soon illuminate a broader story of dominance, ethics, and the limits of human ingenuity. China's rapid ascent in space exploration has intensified its rivalry with the United States, drawing the competition beyond Earth's atmosphere. This escalating space race carries implications far greater than national pride, with both nations vying for control of critical lunar resources and shaping the future of humanity's extraterrestrial presence. Recent developments underscore the growing divide. China's Chang'e 6 mission aims to retrieve samples from the moon's far side, following its success in building the Tiangong space station, a symbol of its ambitions for sustainable long-term habitation in space. Meanwhile, the U.S. continues to pursue its Artemis program, aiming to establish a lunar gateway and maintain leadership in space exploration. China's advancements in space exploration have heightened tensions with the U.S., extending their rivalry into outer space. The recent launch of China's Chang'e 6 mission, aiming to retrieve samples from the moon's far side, marks a pivotal step toward establishing a lunar base. This follows China's Shenzhou 18 mission, which carried 3 taikonauts and a live zebrafish to the Tiangong space station, demonstrating its technological capabilities in creating sustainable ecosystems for long-term space habitation. U.S. officials, including NASA Chief Bill Nelson, have expressed concern over China's rapid progress, labeling the competition a space race. Nelson suggested China's civilian space initiatives may serve military purposes, citing counter-space weapon development and an increase in spy satellites. "We believe that a lot of their so-called civilian space program is a military program," he told U.S. legislators. General Stephen Whiting of U.S. Space Command echoed these concerns, emphasizing China's rapid satellite deployment. The race between the U.S. and China centers not just on lunar exploration, but also on resource control. Professor Kazuto Suzuki highlighted the strategic importance of water on the moon, which could be used to produce rocket fuel. "It's a race for who has better technical capabilities. China is quickly catching up. The pace of Chinese technological development is the threatening element to the U.S., he says. While the U.S. focuses on its Artemis program, which includes plans for a lunar gateway orbiting the moon as a staging point for Mars missions, China has partnered with Russia to develop the International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, open to global collaboration but unlikely to include the U.S. Both nations are rallying allies, with the U.S. enlisting Japan for future Artemis missions and China forging ties in the Middle East and Latin America. Despite growing competition, experts like Dr. Svetla Ben-Itzhak underscore the broader challenges of establishing a sustainable presence in space, framing the rivalry as part of humanity's test against its own capabilities. The narrative of a U.S.-China space race suggests parity between the two nations, but in key areas, the U.S. far outpaces China and all other spacefaring nations. In 2021, the U.S. spent approximately $59.8 billion on its space programs, significantly surpassing China's $16.18 billion. This disparity is reflected in active satellites, with the U.S. operating 3,433 compared to China's 541. The U.S. also has a more extensive network of spaceports, with 7 operational and 13 in development, against China's 4 operational sites and 2 planned. However, nuances exist. While China attempted 55 orbital launches in 2021, slightly exceeding the U.S.'s 51, 84% of Chinese launches carried military payloads, contrasting with the U.S.'s focus on commercial, academic, and Earth observation purposes. Space station initiatives further illustrate differences. The U.S.-led International Space Station, ISS, developed with 14 partners, has driven innovation for decades, though it is set for retirement by 2030. In contrast, China's smaller Tiangong station, completed in 2022, operates independently, with limited international collaboration.
Now, in the last few hours, a Chinese spacecraft carrying 3 astronauts, or taikonauts as China calls them, has successfully docked with the country's new space station.
And liftoff.
It's China's first manned mission in 5 years. It took just 7 hours to reach the space station. Well, you got
Allies play a pivotal role in the U.S.'s dominance. NASA has cultivated partnerships with 24 nations under the Artemis Accords, focusing on lunar exploration and beyond. In contrast, China's collaborations, such as its agreement with Russia for the International Lunar Research Station, involve fewer countries with less advanced capabilities. Other nations like India, Japan, and the EU are also expanding their space ambitions, showcasing technological advancements that often rival China's. As the U.S. combines leadership with a vast network of allies and private sector partnerships, the landscape resembles a complex ecosystem rather than a binary race. The focus has shifted from mere milestones to sustainable and cooperative space exploration, with the U.S. maintaining a decisive lead. In September 2024, China announced its ambitious plan to return Mars surface samples to Earth by 2031, likely making it the first nation to achieve this historic milestone. This positions China ahead of NASA, whose Mars Sample Return (MSR) mission has faced significant budget overruns and delays, with its timeline pushed to the 2040s. NASA's setbacks stem from unrealistic budget estimates, supply chain issues, and organizational inefficiencies, resulting in a project cost ballooning to $8 to $11 billion.
NASA is revising its Mars Sample Return project after a review stated that its budget and schedule is simply unrealistic. The independent review concluded that a planned sample retrieval lander and Earth return orbiter have a 0 probability of being completed by 2027 or 2028. And this has also now raised questions about the staggering $8 to $11 billion budget for this program. A NASA team is in fact looking into review the recommendations. It will suggest alternative architecture on the Mars project by the month of March next.
China's Tianwen-3 mission, slated for a 2028 launch, will build on its proven track record of meeting space milestones, including successful moon sample return missions and a 2021 Mars rover landing. With this announcement, China demonstrates growing capabilities in space exploration, potentially eclipsing U.S. efforts unless significant redirection occurs. Mars Sample Return is a high-stakes mission with profound scientific implications, offering the chance to analyze Martian materials for evidence of past life, a discovery that could redefine humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Beyond science, it also raises concerns about biosecurity, as materials from another planet pose unknown risks to Earth. NASA has turned to private sector innovation, awarding contracts to firms like SpaceX and Lockheed Martin to accelerate timelines and lower costs. Leveraging U.S. industry and international partnerships might allow NASA to reclaim its competitive edge. Winning this race would affirm U.S. leadership in space exploration, with the potential for the most significant scientific discovery in modern history. Failure, however, risks diminishing national prestige and ceding a defining achievement to China.
On, I would say SpaceX and some of his other ventures are definitely a competitive force in the space industry.
China's space program is making bold strides, with its robotic Chang'e 7 mission planned for 2026, aiming to land on the illuminated rim of the moon's Shackleton crater near the lunar South Pole. This location is highly strategic due to its near-constant sunlight and proximity to shadowed crater interiors that are believed to contain vast reserves of water ice. Such ice is vital for future lunar operations, providing essential resources like drinking water, oxygen, and rocket fuel. Chang'e 7 will serve as a precursor to China's International Lunar Research Station, ILRS, and lay the groundwork for sustainable exploration.
China says it has successfully landed a spacecraft on the far side of the moon. The mission aims to collect the first rock and soil samples from the little-known lunar hemisphere. The landing marks a win for China as an international race for the moon is gathering pace. The US, India, and others are hoping to exploit lunar resources to sustain long-term bases on the moon.
The stakes are high, as the United States also eyes the moon's south pole for its Artemis program. Shackleton Crater is prime lunar territory, and competition between the two nations underscores the significance of this site. Following Chang'e 7, China plans to launch the Chang'e 8 mission, tentatively set for 2028, to extract resources like ice and demonstrate their use to support human outposts. Together, these missions will solidify the foundation for ILRS, marking a critical step in China's comprehensive lunar exploration strategy. Meanwhile, NASA's Artemis program faces delays. Established alongside the Artemis Accords in 2020, a framework for international collaboration and resource use on the moon, the program has attracted 43 signatory nations. However, technical setbacks have pushed back key milestones. Artemis 2, which will carry astronauts around the moon without landing, is now slated for September 2025. Artemis 3, which aims to return humans to the lunar surface, is targeted for no earlier than September 2026. These delays create uncertainty about whether the U.S. can stick to its timeline.
There was a long tail of flame and a thundering crackle as the most powerful rocket ever built went towards the heavens, and perched on the top is the Orion spacecraft that will take humans back to the moon for the first time in 50 years. And that is tremendously exciting, not just because of the science that they will do there, but also because it is the first step on the way to Mars. Now, this is...
Despite the challenges, NASA remains committed to its goal of landing humans on the moon by the end of this decade. However, China's methodical and seemingly issue-free progress raises questions about whether it might surpass U.S. efforts. With its long-term planning and consistent execution, China aims to land humans on the moon by 2030. While some doubt its ability to achieve this ambitious goal within the proposed timeline, the country's growing expertise in space exploration cannot be overlooked. Unlike the United States, China's space program appears to operate with fewer visible disruptions. Whether this reflects genuine efficiency or limited transparency is debatable. Nonetheless, China's track record, including recent achievements such as lunar sample return missions, suggests a highly capable and disciplined approach. For example, the Chang'e 5 mission successfully brought lunar samples to Earth in 2020, showcasing China's ability to execute complex space missions. The larger issue is not merely who reaches the moon first, but the implications of sustained lunar exploration. Both nations aim to establish long-term bases and exploit lunar resources, with water ice playing a critical role. The race to the moon symbolizes broader geopolitical competition, reflecting the strategic importance of space in shaping future technologies, economies, and global influence. China's integrated approach to its space program, anchored by clear goals and steady progress, stands in contrast to the technical and budgetary hurdles faced by NASA. Yet, the U.S. retains its edge in innovation and international partnerships. The Artemis Accords, signed by dozens of countries, emphasize a collaborative vision for space exploration, potentially counterbalancing China's unilateral efforts. Ultimately, whether China beats the U.S. to the moon again is less significant than the broader competition to dominate the next era of space exploration. Both nations are poised to make groundbreaking advances, and their efforts will likely redefine humanity's relationship with the moon and beyond. The 2020s could be a transformative decade for space exploration, with implications extending far beyond the lunar surface.
The question is there really a race to the moon between the U.S. and China? And the answer to that is that neither the U.S. nor China have come out and said so much. In fact, the U.S. has downplayed it right along, saying, oh, there's no space race with China. And China has pretty much not said anything either. But the fact of the matter is that there is clearly an unspoken race to get to the moon first. So it's a race on the down low. And in many respects,
the question of whether the first 21st century astronauts on the moon are Chinese or American centers on the relationship between governments and their citizens, as well as international dynamics. Democratic governments rely on public support to sustain funding for costly long-term initiatives, with prestige playing a crucial role in securing that support. However, in a modern moon race, prestige will come from executing the mission responsibly and effectively, not merely being first. Rushing to the moon could result in high financial costs and increased risks to human life, making careful planning essential. Governments should prioritize responsible behavior, with peace, inclusivity, and sustainability as core principles. The goal of returning to the moon should not be about dominance or superiority, but about demonstrating humanity's ability to learn from past mistakes on Earth. This mission offers a unique opportunity to set an example of collaboration and responsible stewardship. By prioritizing these values, the endeavor can showcase a new era of space exploration that emphasizes unity and ethical progress, setting the stage for a better approach to global challenges. As the race to dominate the moon intensifies, the competition between the U.S. and China represents more than a mere quest for milestones. It reflects humanity's ambitions, struggles, and potential to define space exploration's ethical and cooperative future. Whether driven by prestige or necessity, both nations hold the power to shape a new era of discovery. Yet, the ultimate challenge lies in balancing ambition with responsibility. By fostering collaboration and sustainable practices, this modern moon race offers an opportunity to transcend rivalry and create a legacy that unites rather than divides humanity among the stars.